It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, man, Eric's still sick. Sent me a very brief text yesterday. I didn't call him. I wasn't going to call him because he had told me 2 days ago that it hurts to talk. So not in tonight. Hopefully he gets better soon. He told me, he said he's not much better. That was yesterday. So in our prayers, and hopefully he gets back here very, very soon. You know, before we go any further, just two things I got to clear up about what some of the things that happened over the weekend. First off, I've gotten quite a few requests to identify the movie. I posted on X, I think it was Thanksgiving morning, a clip of a movie, and it shows the late actor Charles Durning, Three Purple Hearts, Battle of the Bulge, also D-Day. Landed on D-Day, and he's like in a family setting, and he's talking to the actor Holly Hunter, and opens her up a beer. They're in like the TV room. It's Thanksgiving Day, and he gives her a beer, and he says, "Here's to us, Americans." And I've always loved that cut, and people are asking me, what movie's that from? Home for the Holidays. All right. Home for the Holidays, Charles Durning, Holly Hunter. I got mind blank. Robert Downey Jr. And he's great in that movie. And I found out just last week, because he's great in that movie, that he was on heroin the whole time. I know. It's like, oh, well. I mean, he's been clean for years, but I saw that. But that's the name of the movie, Home for the Holidays, about a dysfunctional but normal family getting together on Thanksgiving. It is one of my favorite Thanksgiving movies, even though I haven't watched it this year. I haven't watched a lot of movies. Normally I've watched a ton of holiday movies by this time, but this year did not. And one more thing, and thanks, I was talking about my dad yesterday and how he actually, we were able to get him out of bed because he's basically bedridden. And he's been out of bed maybe since February in a wheelchair 4 times. And we got him out, and he had dinner with us, and his cognitive abilities were great. But I forgot the most important story, and this relates to a letter that we got about 2 weeks ago, or an email that we got. Maybe it was a communication. Could have been on X. I don't know. But one of our great listeners said, 20 years from now, I'll probably forget completely anything that you and Eric said. But I will never forget DTJ, which is my father saying, do the job. And my dad saying, Gary, in life, you're going to find out that people actually want to be BS. And, of course, I was, at 14, 15 years old, the ideologue, no, Dad, people want the truth. Nah, they don't. So the listener said that. Well, to try to snap back, Dad's memory, if he's not in the greatest cognitive state, we bring up things from the past. So there I'm sitting next to my dad last week, and I said, Dad, DTJ. He looked at me and I said, what does that mean? And he looked at me and he says, no, it's DTJN. I said, DTJN? What are you talking about? He said, do the job. Now! Oh, my God. A couple of people were in the room. We just lost it. I don't ever remember him saying that in that way. And so I just know that everybody would love to hear that particular story. And that was when especially my brother and I, my father said, go out and do this, and we'd start whining. He'd just say DTJ, and that meant just do the job, stop your whining, do the job. But I just loved the way he said DTJN. And he gave me this look, this inquisitive look. I said, DTJN? Yeah. Do the job. Now! It came out louder just like that. So there you go. All right. We need to go back here on this show to something that Eric and I talked about a couple of weeks ago when we said, whatever story comes out about the White House, we'll pay attention to it, but let's not comment on it, for another 2 weeks until it all goes through the wash. And it's the same thing with the story about targeting the drug boats. Because with everything yesterday, and I'm just like, man, this comes out last night from the New York Times. Byron York writes, wait. Here it is. According to 5 U.S. officials who spoke separately and on the condition of anonymity to discuss the sensitive matter that is under investigation, Mr. Hegseth, ahead of the September 2nd attack, ordered a strike that would kill the people on the boat and destroy the vessel and its purported cargo of drugs. But each official said Mr. Hegseth's directive did not specifically address what should happen if a first missile turned out not to fully accomplish all of those things. And the official said his order was not a response to surveillance footage showing that at least 2 people on the boat survived the first blast. Admiral Bradley ordered the initial missile strike and then several follow-up strikes that killed the initial survivors and sank the disabled boat. As the operation unfolded, they said Mr. Hegseth did not give any further orders to him. The officials clarified the sequence of events and the political and legal uproar that has followed a report in the Washington Post last week. And remember, the Washington Post wrote the story. The New York Times is basically saying, well, wait a minute, that's not the story. And the White House, with the number of explanations that they have had, even Hegseth from the very beginning, it's like communication. Be crystal clear. So there you go. So we'll see what happens with all of this now that the New York Times has said no. What was initially reported, did not happen. It's just like, oh, man, communicate effectively, will you please? So there you go. And so we'll talk about it again in another 2 weeks. Or when there's more clarification on the issue. As we had, said yesterday, it's like we went through the legal points that justified it. We had gone through last week the legal points that said not what was the second barrage of missiles or whatever they used to knock out the boat. We just said the constitutional legal things that justified it is what we went through yesterday. We went through point by point by point by point. So we've given you both sides on it. And again, have had to say over and over again, if that's what happened, if that's what happened, if that's what happened. So as soon as we get another response, we'll let you know. But coming to a final conclusion on it, who knows? Now, before we get to the meat and potatoes portion of the show, always some fun. Liberal anti-Trump comedian Ellen DeGeneres is reportedly planning to return to the United States after fleeing to England following Trump's 2024 election win. She had nothing but compliments for the UK when she first went there. It's absolutely beautiful. We're just not used to seeing this kind of beauty. The villages, the towns, and the architecture, everything you see is charming. It's just a simpler way of life. It's clean. Everything is just better. The way animals are treated, people are polite. I just love it here. Now she is complaining that she doesn't want to suffer through another winter in dreary England. She misses the sunny weather of California. Daily Mail UK had the article on it. Ellen DeGeneres backtrack on plan to stay in UK while Trump is in power. As a couple plot. We're plotting here. We're going to plot. Do you have to do that to get back to California? Do you have to plot? We need to plot. But as the couple plots their return to sunny California to escape the chilly winter. Let me just see here. The Daily Mail UK on Sunday can reveal that Ms. DeGeneres has told friends that she is planning to spend more time in Southern California because they miss their friends and dread the thought of another British winter. Apparently, she didn't grow up in Buffalo like I did. So there you go. Just looking at anything again. No, that's it. The only thing I ever see is her, and is it her wife or girlfriend? Wife? Okay. Always see that they're on the cosmetics thing all the time. I mean, it's like all the time. And every time I see it, I'm like, hey, here, do that in Great Britain. Don't do it here. And what was the other story? Oh, man, the other one. We haven't done a Hollywood update in a while. Ready for this one? Here we go. This is awesome. Comedian Kathy Griffin is reflecting on the backlash from her controversial 2017 photo. My God, that was 8 years ago. From her 2017 photo featuring a mock severed head of President Donald Trump that has ignited national outrage. She said her outlook has changed since the incident, and she now even counts some Trump supporters as her friends. I think I spent a lot of my life, whether it was romantically or career-wise, thinking somebody would change or I could maybe skew someone's perspective. And now, and now look, believe it or not, I have quite a few Trump friends. Wow. So there you go. Was she on CNN? Is she going to be on CNN this year? They still do that? I'm always asleep. It's been the last 20 years. I don't remember when I've seen the last New Year's. I'm always asleep, and I never watch the CNN. Does she still get drunk with, didn't she get drunk one year? Was it with, she's not on, okay. Was it Anderson Cooper? I don't think our company would ever do that. Eric and Gary, New Year's Eve sloshed show. They'll be massively drunk and attempt to do a show. I did work a couple of New Year's Eves in radio. It's pretty dead. All right. We are Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at JJ Keller. Compliance, Safety, Accountability is the FMCSA Safety, Compliance, and Enforcement Program. Its goal is to hold motor carriers and drivers accountable for highway safety. CSA does this by assessing the safety performance of motor carriers and drivers. Motor carriers are assigned a score. The carrier is then grouped with other carriers who have had a similar number of safety events. Carrier scores within the group are then ranked. Low scores are better. So carriers with the highest scores are those that are most likely to be targeted for intervention by the FMCSA. Interventions range in severity and may include warning letters, roadside, off-site, or on-site inspections, civil penalties, or operation out-of-service orders. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the bottom of the hour, we will have a Christmas socialism update.
All I want is what I have coming to me. All I want is my fair share.
But that's following the bottom of the hour. This story was out there last week, and then it's been changed. The amount has been changed. If you're traveling this Christmas, the Transportation Security Administration will begin charging passengers $45 if they show up at airport checkpoints without an acceptable form of identification, such as a passport or a real ID. The policy will be implemented starting February 1st, following a proposed rule published in the Federal Register that noted a previous amount of $18. After careful review, it was determined that the expenses for the new technology and operational costs were higher than originally projected, leading to an increase in the final fee. According to senior TSA officials, travelers who do not have an acceptable form of identification will be able to go online to the TSA website to complete identification steps and pay the $45 fee. The passenger then receives an email confirmation to present to the TSA officer prior to the checkpoint. And I'm glad they clarified that, because when I first read the story, I mean, you show up without any ID and they do it right there, and then you have to pay the fee. How does that work out? Well, that's not the case. Explaining it, if you don't have an ID, you do it beforehand, before you travel. The process is predicted to take between 10 and 15 minutes, but could take 30 minutes or longer. The confirmation will be valid for 10 days from the day of travel. The senior TSA officials told Fox News Digital the fee is non-refundable and is not guaranteed. Well, of course, it's government. Nothing's guaranteed. Identity verification is essential for traveler safety because it keeps terrorists, criminals, and illegal aliens out of the skies and other domestic transportation systems, said Adam Stahl of the TSA. I was just thinking, well, who buys a ticket? Are there people? How many people? What percentage of people, the population, the traveling public, actually buys a ticket and then shows up at TSA and doesn't have the proper identification? It's like, do people actually do that? Well, if you don't have it, now this means you can travel, even though, again, it's not guaranteed that you'll be approved. Who knows? Who knows what the qualifications are? Now, I have I've got the TSA pre-check. I've got the enhanced license. We've had the enhanced license. There was never a choice in Texas. You just got the enhanced license and a passport. So I always bring my passport and license in case I lose my license, because that's always a panic. I talk about a panic. I got here, and I thought I had no reading glasses. You want panic? If Eric was here, I could say, you read the stories. But I'm like, oh, my. And I was going crazy. I was searching everywhere in my car, came in to see if I left a pair here. They were in my coat pocket.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And I'm Gary McNamara along with Eric Harley. Eric has the morning off. He's still under the weather. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. Yeah, I always like this time of the year when I play, as I did earlier, Sally Brown as our as the lead into our Christmas socialism update. All I want is what's coming to me. All I want is my fair share. And I was thinking about that yesterday. Number one, Richard Grenell in the administration responded to Tom Steyer in California, who wants to run for governor. Well, he's running for governor. Now, he is an absolute far-left liberal. And Steyer wrote yesterday, the number one problem facing Californians right now is that they can't afford to live in California. I'm running for governor to fix that. Grenell writes, Democrats totally control the state. And it's an unaffordable state. Tom Steyer is telling you to stop voting for Democrats in California. Because he wrote the number one problem facing Californians right now is that they can't afford to live in California. I'm running for governor to fix that. Yet all the far left ideas that California has implemented over the past couple of decades, he's been in favor of. And I was thinking, why does he think that he can throw out a different message? And then I looked to the story that was out there yesterday, National Review, Noah Rothman. For New Jersey voters' sins, they're getting the Biden administration in exile. It's where Mikey Sherrill actually has Jennifer Granholm, who's going to be in charge of energy and getting electricity prices up. And we said the same about New Jersey. Prices are unaffordable. Prices are unaffordable. Give us another Democrat. I mean, it's just. And you slowly have now. I heard yesterday, was it Secretary Wright? I might have the audio cut. Talking about, because, you know, Steyer in California was all about the whole climate change fiasco. And Secretary Wright talked about it yesterday. Let me play this audio cut. He was on Fox News, and this is about affordability.
Is the $1 trillion experiment of spending money, taxpayers' money on climate change, is that finally ending?
I think it is. I think we've seen peak climate crazy. We've brought common sense back to Washington, and it is contagious. You know, Canada just scrapped their carbon rules that were suppressing their oil production, their ability to build pipelines. You see reversals in most of the European nations. It's just common sense. People are starting to think about their citizens again, about cost of living, about jobs. And, of course, when you look back at 30 years of COP climate conferences, nothing substantive came out of them.
Right.
A lot of money, a lot of ink, a lot of promises to get rid of hydrocarbons. Their market share didn't even change over the last 30 years.
And it's true. You know, it's something that, and it's fascinating to watch this all working. I mean, we told you so. I mean, and you told us so. I don't want to make it seem like it was a one-way street, because you were saying the exact same thing. Our listeners are saying the same thing. This doesn't make any sense. You know, you can't do this. And some of the insanity that we heard, I remember what the former governor of Oregon saying that, well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to reduce GDP by, 13%. What GDP is going to be, we got to reduce it by 13%. And we're just like, so you're going to have massive people in poverty. And you have had over the years people like Bjorn Lomborg who believes that man is affecting climate to some extent. But he believes that everything that the left is doing was wrong. Everything. We now know that the change happened, a couple of weeks ago when they started talking about what we need to be concerned about is now global cooling. And you look at the trillions upon trillions of dollars that have been spent. You think about, we talk about Mamdani, in New York City. The biggest attempt at the C word, communism, was really the Green New Deal. Because the goal of the Green New Deal was to tell companies this is what you have to produce. And when they went bankrupt, the government would have to take them over. They own it. That's how you get to communism. That's the whole point. No private business, no private property. And the Democrats jumped on board until you got down to the specifics of it and it was like, no, we can't do it. It was who said it? I remember, I forgot who said it. It was the first time in human history that societies actually attempted to promote less efficiency and less productivity. When you see what capitalism and technology have given us, and I was having this discussion with somebody I was flying with over the weekend, and when I watched on the History Channel, The Men Who Built America, I went, wow. And I saw, the lifestyle that they lived, even being, billionaires back then. And I thought to myself, I went, wow, look at how far we have come. We talk about AI. Well, what was that transformation over, a period of 50 or 75, maybe to 100 years of going from an agriculture economy to an industrial economy. Massive changes. But when you look at the quality of life that a billionaire had 150 years ago, and you look at what we, as the average person, what we have in our life today that came because of capitalism and technology. We have way better quality of life than the billionaires back then. We all are billionaires if it was 1875. But we are. If you look at it, everything that we have today compared to back then. We talk about the polling that's out there. It was 51% of young people believe in socialism. That's because they're completely and totally ignorant, and maybe even willfully ignorant, which is where you could talk about stupidity. If you're willfully ignorant, I wish to remain ignorant. And you've got it happening in New York City. You've got in still places, if you look at New York and New Jersey and Illinois and California, you still have the dying ruins of socialism still trying to hang on, saying, no, we're better. You see the debt that we have. You see the fact that with all the money spent, remember, we're spending about 50% more from the federal government than we were before COVID. And so by the time that money was allocated, which would have been probably inside of 2020, we're talking 5 years, we've increased spending by 50%. Are we more well off because government has that much more capital to use from each and every year? Have you noticed a difference? And I'm talking about outside of what you have worked and earned. No. But you still look at whether it's, the whole Tom Steyer thing. Everything that I have proposed has failed miserably and made costs increase. It's terrible what's happening in California. It's unaffordable. Vote me in, one of the people who caused the problems, and I'll fix the problem. And the same thing with New Jersey and electricity prices. Will they really make that shift? Will they really do it? We know they're not going to change their mind on the cultural issues. That's going to remain the same. We'll get to this coming up here in a little bit. I think it was Christopher Rufo who wrote the thing about, no, that looking at what happened in Minnesota, and what has gone on there with the Somali community and the number of people involved in it, it's not racist to notice Somali fraud. They're still going to try to stick to race. They're still going to promote the radical transgender movement because they haven't backed off. In the liberal you've had other states that have backed off a little bit on it. And on climate change, yeah, you got people furious because it's affecting their wallet. Affordability, 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 affordability. That's the thing that affects people each and every day. But in the liberal states, by the way, gas prices, even in my area, has taken now a significant increase. I think it's $3 a gallon nationwide. They expect it to skyrocket in California. I was reading that last week because now, the refineries don't want anything to do with California. So, yeah, it's going to go up. Eric and I've said it many times before. Economics is not new, and it's the same all the time. It doesn't change. People respond to incentive in a particular way and will always respond to it that way. Economics is not hard. All the stuff going on, we get it all the time. Oh, you guys figured this out. Well, yeah, because it's easy. It's not hard to figure out economics. It's not hard to figure out that when you have an unaccountable monopoly, which would be the federal government, that can borrow other people's money, that they're really not going to get a lot done. And the waste and inefficiency is going to be monstrous. We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. I'm really interested to see, one of the things that I think will be fascinating next year will, be to see what happens in New York City. Will the state legislature allow, and the governor allow Mamdani to increase the corporate tax rate across the entire state in order to pay for what they want in New York City. Oh, by the way, I asked a few people about that last week in New York. Actually, people that I didn't know. I don't know well. I know who they are, but I never had met them before. I knew other members of their family. But I asked them what they thought about that. They weren't too pleased about it, as I told you. Growing up in Western New York, one of the things that I remember as long as I started covering politics in any way, just listening even before I got to college, was the fact that New York City takes a ton of resources out of the rest of New York, and the rest of New York is not happy about it. And I'm talking about when you talk about the the Schenectadys, the Syracuses, the Rochesters, Buffalo, Binghamton, all these places in New York that are like, why are we supporting them? And the belief that we don't have representation, that there's so much population in the New York City area that we don't have it. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens in New York City. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens in Seattle, where they say, okay, let's go back to not just socialism, let's really inject more Marxism. Hey, in some cases, let's be more communist. It will be fascinating to see what they can push through and what the public just says no to.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. I'm Gary McNamara. Eric's out sick. Still not feeling well. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Good morning. Here we are. Everybody's got their Christmas lights up now. On the way in, I was like, wow. It's like everywhere. Seems to be more this year. And again, that's anecdotal. It's just where I happen to be traveling. But and a lot of people getting them professionally installed now. It seems like that seems to be a thing now with Christmas lights. I've got the permanent ones, which is really good. I don't have to do anything every year. And people are, questioning how much it costs, because I get mine professionally installed, and how many years will I get my money back in? But it's great just to flick a switch, and you can change your Christmas lights to whatever you want every day. But I got them a couple years ago, and they're really nice and convenient, and save me a lot of work. All right, I saw this right before I started the show, and I went, wow, this is fascinating, because we forget just how strong the First Amendment in the United States is, just how strong freedom of speech is. We've talked about, the father that was arrested in Canada because he would not call his daughter by the pronoun that she wished to be called by, and the court said either you do or we'll put you in jail. He refused. They put him in jail. We forget that even modern Western countries don't have what we take for granted at times. And Jonathan Turley has his latest column, British arrest a man for posting a picture holding a shotgun in the United States. And he said, I've discussed frequently how free speech is in a free fall in Great Britain, where officials continue to crack down on an ever-widening array of viewpoints. This week, that record worsened with the arrest of John Booth, who told the Yorkshire Post that he was arrested for posting a picture on the networking site LinkedIn of him holding a shotgun at a friend's homestead in Florida. The police allegedly warned him about the post and told him to be careful about what he says online and how it makes people feel. They later came back and arrested Booth for allegedly possessing a firearm with intent to cause fear of violence and a charge of alleged stalking over another picture of a house on his profile. He attempted to show that the photo of that house was taken in the United States, but the police brushed him off. While the police eventually dropped the case, it dragged on for months with multiple visits from officers. However, according to the Telegraph, Mr. Booth has been charged with a public order offense over another social media post. The media reported that he was not informed of the contents of that picture. The police spokesperson issued a statement. Police received a complaint of stalking involving serious alarm or distress relating partly to social media posts, several which included pictures of a male posing with a variety of firearms, which the complainant took to be a threat. Oh man, we've got Christmas coming up. Don't people here in the States send pictures of their entire family holding their firearms? This is the United States. He said, Jonathan Turley writes, none of this is the least surprising. For years, I've been writing about the decline of free speech in the United Kingdom and a steady stream of arrests. A man was convicted of sending a tweet while drunk, referring to dead soldiers. Another was arrested for an anti-police T-shirt. Another was arrested for calling the Irish boyfriend of his ex-girlfriend a leprechaun. Imagine getting arrested for that. What are you in here for? I called my ex-girlfriend's new Irish boyfriend a leprechaun. I wants me gold. Yet another. This is the best one. These are all true. Another was arrested for an anti-police T-shirt. Another was arrested for calling the Irish boyfriend of his ex-girlfriend a leprechaun. Yet another was arrested for singing Kung Fu Fighting. The fact that I believe that was done by Carl Douglas, and I know that, really bothers me. I should be arrested. Then again, I mean, there are limits. Isn't that noise pollution? If anybody's out there singing Kung Fu Fighting, arrest them, throw away the key. A teenager was arrested for protesting outside of a Scientology center with the sign calling the religion a cult. Last year, Nicholas Brock was convicted of a thought crime for doing so. Then you had a neo-Nazi who was convicted, who was given a 4-year sentence for what the court called his toxic ideology based on the contents of the home he shared with his mother. The judge dismissed free speech or free thought concerns with the statement, pretty Orwellian statement, as he said, I do not sentence you for your political views, but the extremity of these views informs the assessment of dangerousness. What the hell does that even mean? He went after Brock for holding Nazi and other hateful values. Wow. It is clear that you are a right-wing extremist. Your enthusiasm for this repulsive and toxic ideology is demonstrated by the graphic and racist material which you have studied and appeared to share with others. After sentencing, the detective chief superintendent, head of the counterterrorism policing Southeast, warned others that he was going to prison because he showed a clear right-wing ideology with the evidence seized from his possessions during the investigation. We are committed to tackling all forms of toxic ideology which has the potential to threaten public safety and security. The Times of London reported in April that police are making around 12,000 arrests per year over online posts. My God. 3/4 of the population of the United States would be in prison for life. The years of criminalization and censorship have created a culture of intolerance in Great Britain toward opposing views. Every group is now on a hair trigger to call police on those who espouse conflicting values. At the same time, British police departments now expend considerable personnel and resources to as speech police. Wow. Wow. For free speech groups in Great Britain, the situation could not be more dire, where even silently praying can lead to your arrest. Indeed, expressing support for Western cultural concerns is viewed as evidence of right-wing ideology. Speech in the UK now becomes entirely on how it makes people feel. Think about this. Great Britain. Magna Carta. You know, what helped formed the ideology of the United States? Think about that. And it can be as bad in Great Britain as it was in the former Soviet Union. You're putting people in prison for their thoughts. And to say you're not putting them in prison for their thoughts, but for the materials that help create those thoughts, doesn't soothe any of us at all. But that's where it's going, and it's dangerous. And this is happening. And by the way, we have said this, the Trump administration and Congress and people of the United States should be severely criticizing Great Britain for what the hell is going on in that country right now. To sit there, and this is really the incredible thing, anybody in Great Britain, Trump is a Nazi. Put those people in jail for what they think and what they say on the materials of where they get their ideology from. You know, I remember going back to Chris Cuomo. I'll never forget it, where he said, well, hate speech isn't protected in the United States. It was like, of course it is. What are you talking about? I don't like hate speech. I don't believe that we deal or we throw out hate speech, but then again, Great Britain may differ, and I might be in jail for 99 years in Great Britain. So, as I've said before, though, I don't believe we have any radical ideas. You know, we've been called every name in the book, and it's like, where's my radical ideas? Doesn't matter. If it's different from the government line in Great Britain, that can put you in prison. If somebody calls, think about this. If somebody calls the police and says, this person put out a Facebook post and it scares me, that's enough to arrest them. If they're in another country and they post a picture of them holding a gun and someone takes that as a threat, that's enough for the police to tie you up in a legal nightmare for years. Understand and appreciate what we have here in the United States with the First Amendment. Because if you don't have a First Amendment, things like you can't imagine. I'm thinking that anybody who was in Great Britain when the Berlin Wall came down and the Soviet Union then ceased to exist would have ever thought that what was going on in the Soviet Union when it came to free speech could now happen in Great Britain. And it is. We are Red Eye Radio.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
The southern U.S., particularly the southeast, may not come to mind for many regarding Christmas tree locales. Yet, as Mississippi State University Extension Sean Kushla explains,
a lot of the Christmas tree grown here are all local markets.
He adds many of the species available as Christmas trees in the South are unable to be cut and kept out of water for a prolonged period of time. As for specific tree species in the region,
we have Leyland cypress or Murray cypress. They're crosses from the Alaska cedar and Monterey cedar, but it depends on which way you cross a male and female is which variety you get.
In addition,
we also grow the Arizona cypress, which comes from the Southwest. Eastern red cedar is another one that we grow down here, and the Virginia pine. In fact, the Virginia pine was probably one of the first tree species to be grown as a Christmas tree here in the South.
I'm Ron Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, over the long Thanksgiving weekend, the whole thing came out, and it was really interesting because I really didn't see it in the local media up in New York at all, and there wasn't really much general discussion on it at all, and I don't think that out there you have people questioning Trump's health, but it was amazing. It was amazing watching the president on the plane or any representative of the president, you know, the entire stories out there that, well, Trump's slowing down, Trump's slowing down, Trump's slowing down. And the absolute, almost insane excitement for reporters and delving into this as if it's the same as Joe Biden that they refuse to cover. I mean, it really is. And then the whole thing with the MRI. I mean, the reporters look like I forgot who it was up there. I don't know if it was Carolyn Levitt or was Trump talking. I can't remember which one it was. But it was like they were a 20-pound steak, and the reporters were starving wolves who had gone through a winter without a meal. Like, what the hell? It's just, why the MRI? Well, it's like, well, could you have taken just 1% of this incredible passion for Biden? And it really is amazing watching this. And the president, when he was being peppered on the plane the other day, said, well, I don't know. They took the MRI. They said I'm supposed to do it. And didn't find anything wrong. And yeah, I'll release it. So what the MRI? Well, yeah, I'll release it tomorrow. They released it. As Trump said, he releases the perfect MRI. Perfect. Not 99.9999999%, but perfect. But it's just they don't really have a lot right now. And I noticed what I found interesting was the absolute insane questioning and fake panic about whether this president may be ill or slowing down or whatever. And the fact that the public really isn't paying attention to it at all. Whereas when it was Biden, the public was really paying attention to it. They all knew it. And anybody who was friendly media to the president was ignoring it. Or saying, no, that's not happening. He just had a bad day.
Catch Red Eye Radio live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Eric's off today because he's under the weather. Hopefully he gets better soon. Hey, download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you want. All right, I want to play this audio. This was interesting. Saw it yesterday, and it was Nayland Haley, who is the son of Nikki Haley, who is the crawl has him as Gen Z conservative activist. And it says Nayland Haley voices concerns of disillusioned Generation Z. Now, he did this apparently after a New York Post story about his growing influence among young conservatives. And a story came out saying, I'm not the voice of Generation Z. He's downplayed claims that he represents Generation Z politically, saying that his recent online prominence was unintended and unwanted, even though he did appear on Fox News. No. I'm not building a public platform. Let me go on Fox. I never said I was the voice of Gen Z. It was never my intention to get any platform, and it still isn't. You're not going to see me start some kind of podcast, YouTube channel, streaming service, or any type form of monetization. I've avoided the media my whole life and still decline 95% of requests. He said that he doesn't discuss politics really with his mother. But here he is, avoiding publicity on Fox News. Just love it. It's like Hollywood people out at every function complaining about the paparazzi. And I think it was the supermodel, Beverly Johnson. Who I think grew up in Lockport, New York, which is outside Buffalo. And I think she was asked one time, remember seeing a story, how do you stay away from the paparazzi? Well, hang in Buffalo. Not a lot of paparazzi there. I think Johnny Resnick of the Goo Goo Dolls said the same thing. They're from Buffalo. You're saying the same thing. Well, I don't do much. He lives in New Jersey now, but it's like, go to Buffalo. It's you don't have to worry about the paparazzi there. But here he is as he talks about the goal of every generation is to leave it better than you found it. And not only we're not doing that, we're going in the opposite direction. He says that Republicans need to start listening to Gen Z conservatives. Here's this audio. Here we go.
Leaders need to do is admit that we have a problem. And right now, I haven't heard any Republican leaders talk about the issues that young people are facing. Congress has been nothing more than a glorified nursing home. They either don't know the problems that we're facing or they're ignoring it. And to be honest, I don't know which one's worse. You look at jobs, 1/3 of recent college graduates are unemployed. My friend group graduated, all with great degrees in great schools, and not one of them has a job, not one. So it's frustrating because they did everything that they were supposed to do. They put in the time, the effort, the money to get educated, and they don't have a job to show for it. They have to compete with foreign workers who are willing to work for half their salary, and AI, which is a supercomputer, you know? So how can we compete with that? You look at the housing market, and the average first-time home buyer in America is 40 years old now. 5 years ago, it was 33. My parents bought their first house for $90,000 in the late 90s, and now it's probably worth over $400,000. So we're facing a lot of issues, and, you know, I think some things that we need to do is we need to ban H-1B visas, make sure corporations are hiring a certain number of Americans and make sure they act in the interest of the American people, not just for themselves. I think that we need to stop subsidizing illegal immigrants for housing and instead maybe look into subsidizing Americans for first-time home buyers for housing, and not allow corporations and the Chinese Communist Party to buy entire neighborhoods of single-family homes.
All right, I think probably the last one most people wouldn't disagree with on that. But, I mean, there's a lot, again, that in that audio and in the interview really wasn't discussed. For example, what were their degrees in? What was their degree in? He said they graduated, they don't have a job. They don't have a job, or they don't have a job in their chosen field. And I say this because I went through it. I didn't get a job in my chosen field. You know, I go back to my dad telling me in 1969 that you better be good at 3 or 4 different things. Well, should it be a trade or college? Both. And the philosophy that I was raised with, and many of you, is you first get a job. Whatever it is, even if it doesn't fit what your training is, you get a job. I understand where he's... By the way, I don't want the federal government subsidizing first-time home buyers. No, I don't want... I want the government out of the mortgage market to begin with. So should they be subsidizing illegal immigrants and their homes? No. The federal government shouldn't be involved in the mortgage business to begin with. But I'm not sure. I know part of what he is saying is the government needs to look. It's impossible, by the way, for the government to look at everybody's individual challenges. They can look at, broad challenges out there. So I really can't address when he says that many of my friends have a degree but don't have a job. I don't know if he means, again, in their chosen profession, because you can have a doctorate in basket weaving. You're not going to get a job. And education, your choice of what you choose as a career, does not mean you're going to find a job in that career. Most of us have had a number of jobs, and probably a significant portion of us are not working in the field that we went to college for. So, again, when you're talking to the federal government and saying the federal government needs to respond to our concerns, illegal immigration, yes. The H-1B visa, yes. But that's a complicated question. Is it being abused? Yes. Might it be necessary in some businesses? Yes. We talked last week. Ford, 5,000 mechanic jobs are open that they can't fill, pays $120,000 each. So again, when he starts talking about Gen Z conservatives, a lot of what he was saying there is not a conservative mindset. And this comes from a person who worked a number of jobs, including my first job that I didn't know, but I should have refused because I was better than that, which was cleaning toilets. I didn't know I was too good for that job. Did you know that? I didn't know that. I didn't think that, see, what trash I am. I didn't think that cleaning toilets was beneath me. I happily did it and got a $13 check at the end of the week and was ecstatic about it. But yeah, but the goal of every generation is to leave it better than you found it. It doesn't mean catering to each individual. Federal government is not supposed to cater to each individual. What's your individual need? I'm from the federal government. Let me take care of you. It's not going to continue. We don't have the money to continue to do it. We don't have the money to go into the debt that we're going into. And so, yeah, when I saw that yesterday, I thought it was pretty interesting, especially when he said we should be subsidizing first-time home buyers in the United States. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Federal government should not. And by the way, from somebody who didn't have their first home until they were 51. So it's not like I didn't experience everything that he experienced. I had a college degree, and I was getting it was under my fingernails was filthy. Why? I was a machinist with a college degree. It didn't matter. It paid well. I did it. And that was my first job, was to be self-sufficient, not to work in what I wanted to work in. And I don't know if that's what he's saying or not. But if he is saying that, and my belief is, I think that's partly what his argument is, based on the fact that he believes that, hey, we should be subsidizing first-time home buyers. No, federal government shouldn't be doing that. I said it last week, that when my father, when he was building his home, was working a full-time job and 2 part-time jobs. He had 3 jobs and helped build the basement of his first house. I know you couldn't do it these days. Could you imagine that? Hey, contractors, I'm going to help. You guys take care of the stuff after I help build the basement. Normally, they don't allow the who's going to be the new homeowner to do work. Them was the olden days. And so, it's never been easy. Another thing from my dad. When were these good old days? Oh, get that from him. I always hear, well, you grew up in the good old days. Really? They were good old days. And so, yeah, I just thought it was interesting that he was out there and then had to come out on social media and say, I'm not representing Generation Z. And I don't want the publicity. Well, then don't go on Fox News. And I don't know, he may be a great kid. I have no idea. He's 25, I think. But again, what a goal of a young conservative is versus what a conservative of my age views the conservative ideology might be 2 different things. So there you go. Nayland Haley, he's Nikki Haley's son. And again, saying he doesn't talk to his mother about politics. We are Red Eye Radio.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley. He has the morning off because he's under the weather. I'm here, though. Kristi Noem met with the president yesterday and said that third world countries that send us the wrong people, we're going to put a complete travel ban on. We'll see where that goes and what the specifics are on that one. This story out from Breitbart. The federal government's special immigrant visa program for Afghan nationals relies on Taliban cooperation, the State Department Inspector General warned in 2023 after the Biden administration blew the doors open to mass migration from Afghanistan. Wow. In August of 2023, 2 years after Biden's mass Afghan resettlement began, the State Department IG Inspector General issued a report detailing alarming issues with the federal government's program for Afghan nationals, which was routinely funded by Democrats and even Republicans. Among the findings, the IG report revealed that the program to bring Afghans to the United States relied on cooperation from the Taliban. What is this? Just slow suicide? I mean, first, the department relies on Taliban cooperation for the applicant relocation from the country because a lack of embassy ground presence in Afghanistan. The reliance on Taliban. Do I need to go any further? The reliance of Taliban cooperation because of the lack of U.S. diplomatic ground presence in Afghanistan impacts the ability for Afghan applicants to exit Afghanistan and arrive at the U.S. diplomatic post for visa processing. Department officials told the OIG that one of the biggest challenges for applicants departing Afghanistan is a lack of freedom of movement out of Afghanistan, which is dependent on Taliban cooperation, and also to vet them, they need Taliban cooperation, which would be absolutely useless. Man. Ugh. Right? What else you have to say?
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.